Humanity has long been fascinated by tales of heroic defeat. When we hear a story about someone facing impossible odds, there's a spark of admiration for their efforts, even though they ended up losing. These stories remind us that there's a beauty, a spirit of defiance, in taking a swing when the odds are completely stacked against you. However, if you asked most people, they would prefer to be the David who slays Goliath, rather than a plucky challenger who fought well but still lost. The underdog mentality can make a person feel as though defeat is inevitable. For them, the possibility of facing long odds and actually winning is an impossibility. Nowhere is this phenomenon more true than in Ireland. Given Ireland's long history of oppression, occupation, and control by outside forces, there remains a strong sense of needing to keep your back bent for the eventual whip. A feeling that, sure, you could achieve many victories, high status, and adoration, but that what goes up must eventually come down, and misfortune is always hiding just around the corner. A feeling that it's better to try for a heroic defeat than an improbable victory.
And a 1-all draw is as good as a victory! Yeah!
It is little wonder then that after roughly 700 years of trying and usually failing, that the people on this little green rock in the European Northwest finally cracked the code. We figured out how to face impossible odds and do the unthinkable. Actually win. The heroic defeat in the face of impossible odds is baked into the cake of the founding of modern Ireland. In Easter 1916, a group of Irish revolutionaries seized key buildings in Dublin and declared the Irish Republic. The revolutionaries held out for 6 days against the near impossible odds of defending their strongholds against the full force of the British Empire. Upon their surrender and capture by the British, 14 of the Easter Rising's leaders were taken to Kilmainham Gaol in West Dublin, and they were executed by firing squad.
For causing rebellion, you have been sentenced to death. Thomas MacDonagh.
Their heroic defeat changed the mood of ordinary Irish people, who began to increasingly support the nationalist cause as a result of Britain's extremely violent response. However, one man who fought against the British in 1916 was not satisfied with the heroic defeat. Michael Collins wanted an actual victory, the Irish independence he and the rebels fought for. And upon his release from prison at Christmas the same year, this is precisely what he set about doing. Collins can be described as a character who was pragmatic, driven, and a little bit mad. By the start of 1919, Collins had worked his way up to become the Minister for Finance in the Irish Revolutionary Government.
Bullshit. I'm Minister for Gun Running, Daylight Robbery, and General Mayhem.
During the Irish War of Independence, Collins became absolutely notorious for his use and command of guerrilla warfare. He assembled a group of Irish men known as the Squad, who targeted and executed British intelligence personnel across Ireland.
What's that?
A sort of turf?
Wrong. That's a weapon. Fucking deadly. You don't believe me? What is it now?
Collins is quoted as saying, "I am not one of those fools who believe that war can be avoided by making the other fellow think you are ready for it. My idea is that the other fellow must think you are so mad you cannot avoid it." It is my view that this streak of madness is what made Collins so effective in his pursuit of Irish independence. The man would cycle around Dublin in a pinstripe suit with a $500,000 bounty on his head, while being completely surrounded by spies and informants working for the British Crown. By the end of the Irish War of Independence, Collins's guerrilla tactics had terrorized the British so much that they requested a truce. It was during this truce that Collins was sent by the Irish Revolutionary Government to London. He was sent there to negotiate and to sign the Anglo-Irish Treaty. Upon signing this treaty, Collins noted that he had signed his actual death warrant. This is because the treaty achieved his goal of independence for Ireland, but only partially. Under the terms of the treaty, Ireland was to be divided, with 26 of its 32 counties becoming independent. The remaining 6 in the north of the country would remain under UK rule. Collins' signing of this treaty was incredibly controversial back at home and kicked off the Irish Civil War. The Civil War divided Irish people ideologically between those who rejected the treaty and those who supported it. In 1922, as the leader of the pro-treaty forces, Collins was taking a trip to his home region of West Cork. West Cork, ironically, was a stronghold of anti-treaty forces, and it was incredibly dangerous for Collins to travel there. However, the man, as mad and as pragmatic as he was, told those who warned him against travelling to West Cork that, well, they would never shoot me in my own county. As it turns out, Collins was wrong. On August 22nd, 1922, he was shot and killed in West Cork. Although he did eventually die in his pursuit of beating the impossibly long odds of achieving independence from the British Empire. By the time Ireland declared itself a republic in 1948, one could say that Collins was the man who faced the impossible odds and won. Collins was an Irishman unique in his madness. There are many theories that go around as to why Irish people have a proclivity towards the insane. One of these theories being that, well, madness never fully escaped the Irish gene pool.
In Ireland, before we had psychiatric hospitals, all we had were open spaces. If you were mad, people just told you to fuck off. You'd spend the day running around a big field. You come back into town around 6 o'clock for a sandwich with the crusts cut off, 'cause you're mental. Never give a lunatic the heel of a loaf of bread. He'll take the eyes out of your head. And then back into the field to sleep in a tree with some sheep.
My own personal idea is that if you bang your head against the wall enough times in your history, sure, you'll lose a few brain cells, but you might just end up breaking the wall in the process. This is not to say that Irish madness is all sunshine and rainbows. After all, the country has a long history of depression, alcoholism, and corruption. However, when it's channeled correctly, it is precisely the bright side of this foolhardy madness that gives Irishmen the ability to look at impossible odds and say, I can win. ChatGPT puts the odds of becoming an Olympic gold medal winner at 1 in 23 million. The town of Skibbereen is 23 miles from Michael Collins' site of ambush. 100 years after the heroic defeat of 1916, 2 Irish brothers from Skibbereen took their boat to Rio de Janeiro. Paul and Gary O'Donovan were about to set sail in search of gold, a quest against impossible odds to become the best in the world. Their chosen sport, rowing, is an elitist sport, championed by top universities with access to funding, sports scientists, and state-of-the-art equipment. But as for Skibbereen Rowing Club...
Welcome to Skibbereen Rowing Club.
Yeah,
inside the front door. We have to fix the windows.
Holding the doors together there with the old sellotape.
Insulating tape, screen.
But it does the job. Yeah, we've got a river running out the back of the house, which is useful for the rowing. Come into the kitchen back here, then that doesn't work at all, but that's the dishwasher that is used for putting filing cabinets on top of.
A bag of socks there.
white piece of paper that's on a string. Put the leg
foot
out the window like that.
The old training programs over the years, like this one is up here, the endurance program, but that's top secret. You're not allowed to produce that. Don't show anyone.
All of this begs the question. How do you take such a clear gap in resources and level the playing field at the elite level of a top sport like rowing?
Madness. A man needs a little madness, or else he never dares cut the rope and be free.
This kind of foolhardy madness, coupled with a ruthless pragmatism and drive, took the boys from Skibbereen from odds of 1 in 23 million to odds of 1 in 6 at the Olympic finals. But of course, regardless of the numbers, any insane Irishman will tell you, I liked those odds.
To be really down and to have people down on top of you, to be outlawed, to be hated. And it's when you go through these things, when you're hardened in the furnace of all this internal suffering and external prejudice and pressure and bias and ignorant hatred of you, through misunderstanding, while you are forging yourself as a man, making your mistakes, disgracing yourself and your family. While you're going through all this, you're also forging yourself into a worthwhile human being. And by Christ, at the end of the day, it's worth it. If you can emerge as a man, a coherent man, at the end of that awful crucible of human suffering, you're somebody.
Wait, they came second? But Jack, weren't you setting us up for a grand finale where Ireland finally overcomes its reputation for heroic defeat? Well, actually yes, the boys did end up winning. But after all, the right way to beat impossible odds is not to do it absolutely perfectly at the first time of asking. Now, is it? Surely, it's worth banging your head off the wall at least once before breaking it, right? Paul and Gary won the World Championships in 2018, while Paul, alongside another Skibbereen rower, Fintan McCarthy, took the gold medal in Tokyo in 2021. But the victory was never the point of this video. You see, the O'Donovans and later McCarthy had access to a unique advantage that none of their competitors tapped into. Their culture gave them something. A spirit of pragmatism, persistence, and a touch of madness that they grabbed with both hands and leaned into. Michael Collins may have died in 1922, but his spirit did not.
People are saying, what's the secret in Skibbereen? What are you doing? Or what's in the water?
No, I can't tell you.
No. That's the secret.
A lot of people and a lot of clubs and a lot of communities can learn a lot from what Skibbereen has done. The biggest thing is belief. Any youngster could walk in the door of this rowing club tomorrow morning and said, I want to go to the Olympics. No one would ever doubt them.
No.
Ever.
I think at a time where many people feel like they have their backs against the wall, like they are facing impossible odds in life, there is something to be said for finding the unique spirit that your country, your region, your town gives to you. The stories from your place belong to you, and they can fill you with an immense power in exchange for you carrying them forwards into the future. As a young Irishman from the same region as Michael Collins and the Roars, I often joke about how modern Ireland feels like it should be renamed to the Economic Republic of Ireland because of how challenging it is to afford to live here. It is only by delving into the stories and the spirit of my own people that I am filled with the same foolhardy madness to look at the impossible odds of continuing to live here and say, I can win. I can be the next to pull off the mad Irish long shot.